could give one message to the Philadelphia fan base.
It's going to turn. It's going to turn. These guys are too good, and it's going to turn.
There you go. Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Well, Joe, hopefully they prove you right from the unemployment line. Now, I'm not going to act that just because the Phillies did the right thing here and fired Joe Girardi that magically we're going to become World Series champions, like how the Braves had that start off the season 2021 slow, really slow, and they ended up winning it all. Same thing with the Nationals in 2019. I'm not going to act like the Phillies are going to go on this crazy run and play perfect baseball for the rest of the year now that Joe Girardi's gone, because there's serious problems with this team, and Dave Dombrowski built a flawed roster. He opened his checkbook and broke the bank on signing a bunch of guys who have just not panned out, like Kyle Schwarber and Nick Castellanos have been very disappointing. They've been average or decent at best when you're paying them to be much more than that. I don't think Dave Dombrowski realizes that physical decline is a real thing. I mean, why else? I mean, when he was with the Red Sox, he signed Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval to huge bloated deals. It's not really surprising why he got fired there. But the thing about firing Girardi is that there's nothing that you can really lose by doing it. There isn't. What is Joe Girardi providing this team that is irreplaceable that cannot be provided with any other manager? There's nothing. The way I see it, the only thing that could possibly happen is that this galvanizes the troops, this wakes the locker room up, and this gives them a more incentive to go out there and play to the ability that they're all capable of. Now, Joe Girardi, he was a very he was just so lackluster. You hired Girardi basically as the guy to inject some energy into the team essentially, and I feel like Gabe Kapler had more fire in him than in his tenure with the Phillies than Joe Girardi did. Joe Girardi just felt like he was asleep half the time. He felt like there was no energy, and that's obviously not the biggest thing for a manager, but how he managed his bullpen was crazy. The you can't pitch in 3 straight days rule was absolutely stupid. That cost us many games. The fact that he, for some reason, had big affinities for players like James Norwood and Roman Quinn. Like, he relied on those guys way more than any other manager would ever. And he was just a very mediocre, even bad manager. And his tenure here, I supported the hiring. I thought it was a great hiring. I thought he'd be the manager to take the Phillies back to the playoffs for the first time in a decade, but he wasn't. And his tenure here has to be considered anything but a complete failure. His tenure here was nothing but a failure. 2.5 seasons, very little improvement. I mean, what we had, Gabe Kapler had less, and he got the same results basically. I know Gabe Kapler had a worse bullpen on paper than Girardi did, and Joe Girardi's entire Phillies career has been defined by how awful the bullpen has been. And obviously, it's not all his fault. I mean, the guys who got to go out there and pitch. The manager can only do so much, but how he handled everything was just left a lot to be desired. And it really seemed like at points in this season that he was almost trying to be fired, because he would make decisions like pulling Zach Wheeler with 80 pitches when he was dealing, and he would always put Norwood in, and he would not pitch Sir Anthony Dominguez for whatever reason when he only when he had 2 pitches 2 days ago and he wasn't available. It was just a weird, dumb philosophy, and the whole club has been sluggish this entire season because of it. So I'm hoping that this wakes up the team and it can galvanize them. I'm not predicting that we're even going to make the playoffs, but it can't get much worse. And someone had to fall on the sword for what's happened in this disaster of a season. And guess what? If this exact Phillies roster had, let's say, Buck Showalter as its manager or Gabe Kapler as its manager, I seriously doubt that we would be 7 games below 500 at this point. So, yeah, I'm completely fine with Joe Girardi being fired. I support the decision. Not going to act like it's going to change everything and we're magically going to become this juggernaut overnight. But overall, bye, Joe. You were not a good manager here, and you deserve to be fired.